The train jolted as it pulled out of the Chicago station. Metal wheels grinding over tracks slick with rain. In the window seat of car B5, a single dad clutched his sleeping son's stuffed dog and rested his heavy head on the shoulder of a stranger, a woman in a black Pantene shirt combo, her eyes hidden behind dark glasses, her jaw tight. He didn't notice the earpiece under her hair or the tension in her fingers. He didn't know her name, but she knew his ... The train's rhythm was soothing. But nothing about Aaron McKinley's life had been soothing lately. His 6-year-old son, Jacob, lay tucked beside him, wrapped in a frayed red hoodie and gripping a dog-eared book about trucks. Aaron had barely eaten in 2 days. The court hearing for full custody had drained his last few dollars. All he had left was this train ticket back to Indianapolis and the quiet hope that his ex-wife wouldn't find them. The lights flickered. Once, he looked to his left. The woman beside him hadn't moved in hours. She was tall, poised even in the cramped coach seat. Her dark brunette hair was tied in a low bun, and her black button-up shirt was creased at the shoulder where he'd accidentally been leaning. She hadn't shoved him off, hadn't said a word, just let him sleep. Aaron blinked, embarrassed. "Sorry," he muttered. She turned, slowly. "Long day." Her voice was calm, confident. He nodded. "Too long." She glanced at the boy. "Your son?" Aaron hesitated. People asked, but not like that. Not with such quiet weight. "Yeah," he said. "Jacob." The woman nodded and looked out the window again. That silence returned, but it wasn't uncomfortable. What Aaron didn't know was that the woman beside him wasn't just polite. She wasn't just another traveler. Her name was Mara Quinn, and she was an FBI agent off duty, technically, but always alert. And she'd just received a coded text that made her stomach twist. Code 7A. Target identified. Confirmed trail on board train 619. That train. This train. Her eyes scanned the cabin. 3 cars ahead. Someone dangerous was hiding someone Mara had been hunting for months. Someone tied to a trafficking ring. Someone who had taken children. Mara's heart slammed against her chest when she glanced at Jacob again. Innocent. Fragile. With a father who looked like he hadn't slept in years. She made a decision then, one that broke every protocol in her handbook. She wouldn't leave their side. Not tonight. Not until the storm coming down the tracks had passed. Suddenly, a voice blared over the PA system. "We're experiencing a delay ahead due to weather. Estimated arrival now to 10 a.m. Aaron groaned. Mara reached for her jacket and quietly unzipped the front. Her hand slipped under the fabric, brushing past a holster. She didn't expect what happened next. From the far end of the car, a man in a gray hoodie stood. He walked slowly down the aisle, but his eyes weren't scanning the crowd. They were fixed on Jacob. Aaron noticed nothing. He was rummaging through his backpack for crackers. But Mara noticed everything. The man's steps, his posture, and the unmistakable bulge of a concealed weapon under his jacket. She leaned slightly forward. "Is there a bathroom?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Aaron pointed behind them, still distracted. "Back to doors." "Thanks," she said, already rising. But she didn't head toward the restroom. She moved diagonally, closing distance. The man stopped. For a second, the only sound was the soft whoosh of the train. Then the man turned toward Jacob. Mara was on him in 3 steps. "Sir," she said, flashing a fake smile. "Lost something?" He looked up, startled. Behind her smile, her hand was already on her weapon. "No," the man said, just stretching, then stretched somewhere else. She didn't blink. Neither did he. Until he turned and walked away. Aaron looked up just as Mara returned. "What was that?" She sat down. "Probably nothing." But her jaw was tight. Her eyes never left the aisle. And that's when Aaron finally asked, "Who are you?" Mara's answer was soft, but strong. "Someone who's not letting anything happen to your son." And in that moment, whether Aaron knew it or not, his entire life began to change. Aaron hadn't blinked in 30 seconds. He stared at the woman beside him, Mara, whose expression was stone still, whose tone had just shifted from kind stranger to someone who had clearly seen danger before. "Wait," he said slowly. "You're not just who are you really?" Mara Quinn kept her voice low. "I'm with the Bureau," she said. FBI. Aaron blinked again. I thought they wear suits. You look like you're going to a CrossFit class. Her lips curled slightly. I didn't have time to dress for your expectations. Aaron, shut up. A gust of wind hit the side of the train, making it sway slightly. Jacob stirred beside them, let out a tiny whimper, then settled again. Aaron looked at his son, then back at Mara. You said someone was looking at him. That guy, should I be worried? Mara hesitated just long enough to scare him more. Yes, she said. But not just for him. For all of us. Aaron's heart kicked up. Mara leaned in, speaking just above a whisper. The man who stood up. I know his face. He's not just a creep. He's a runner, low-level muscle for a trafficking ring. I've been tracking their movement for months. This train was flagged because someone tipped off a possible handoff mid-route. Aaron sat back, stunned. You think he's here to grab a kid? I think he already has a target. Aaron's eyes dropped to Jacob. No, he muttered. No way. Mara didn't touch him, didn't console, but her tone softened. I'm not letting that happen. I promise you. She glanced at the other passengers. Half were asleep. A few scrolled their phones, headphones in. Nobody seemed to notice the threat sitting just cars ahead. Mara opened her jacket slightly. Aaron saw the edge of a badge, the handle of a firearm. You said off-duty. She nodded. I'm not supposed to intervene without backup, and yet you are. She looked at Jacob again. Some things are bigger than protocol. For a second, Aaron's emotions overwhelmed him. He'd carried so much alone for so long. No one had protected them, not the court, not his ex, not even his own parents, who told him, you should have fought harder for your family. And now a stranger had sat beside him, noticed one wrong glance, and stepped into danger without hesitation. Why? He asked. Why are you helping us? Mara exhaled slowly. Because I couldn't help mine. Aaron didn't ask more. He didn't have to. The weight in her voice told him enough. Whatever her past was, it haunted her. And protecting Jacob now, it meant something more than duty, that it was redemption. 2 cars ahead. The man in the hoodie pulled out a prepaid flip phone. He sent a single text. She's here. She's watching. A reply came seconds later. Then burn it. Burn everything. He looked up, locking eyes with another man sitting near the front of the train, shaved head. Dark leather jacket, fake wedding ring. There were 2 of them. At least. Mara's instinct screamed. She tapped her earpiece, connecting quietly to a bureau channel. Quinn, confirmed, eyes on target. He's not alone. Request backup, nearest station. A woman's voice crackled in response. Mara, you're deep. Next stop's 70 minutes out. No rail security until then. Mara's jaw clenched. Copy. We'll hold. Aaron watched her like a man seeing the thin wall between chaos. An order cracking right in front of him. What do we do? She didn't answer with panic. Just quiet instruction. You do nothing. You hold Jacob. You stay right here. I'll handle it. Aaron shook his head. You can't take on 2 guys alone. Mara looked at him again, and this time, the mask dropped slightly. A flicker of vulnerability passed over her face, but then it was gone. I'm not planning to fight them. He frowned. I'm planning to trap them. A minute later, Mara rose from her seat and calmly walked toward the rear of the car. Not toward the suspects. Toward the storage area, where the train's mechanical access was hidden. She wasn't just trained to shoot. She was trained to think, and she had a plan. Back in their seat, Aaron watched Jacob breathe softly against his chest, and for the first time in years, he prayed. Not just for safety, but for strength. He didn't know who Mara really was, or what she'd lost, or what exactly was coming. But something deep in his bones told him this wasn't just a ride home anymore, that it was a war, and they were already in it. The train thundered through the pitch-black Indiana plains. Inside, the air was thick not with heat, but with tension. Mara crouched inside the narrow service corridor between cars, unscrewing the panel to the train's fuse relays. Sparks flared briefly as she worked. She'd memorized the emergency circuit layouts of most Midwestern Amtrak models years ago. It was part of a special protocol, the ghost brake tactic, not standard, not authorized. But in the field, nothing was. She pressed her earpiece. Quinn to command. preparing to engage low-light contingency. Will isolate car B5. Suspects still mobile. Confirmed. One has moved toward car B6, other is seated. Mara's fingers hovered over the switch. She whispered, "Good," and flipped it. The lights in cars B4 through B6 blinked once, then plunged into darkness. Passengers stirred. Confused voices murmured. The intercom buzzed as the conductor's voice crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced a minor power surge. Please remain calm." But Mara wasn't waiting for calm. She moved fast, returning to B5 in the shadow. Erin turned as she slipped back into her seat like a ghost. Jacob stirred, blinked. "Daddy?" "It's okay, buddy," Erin whispered, holding him tight. "Are we still moving?" Mara answered for them both. "Yes, but not for long." Erin looked at her. Her shirt was rumpled. She had a small scratch across her temple, but her eyes were sharp, unafraid. "What now? We isolate," she said, "and we expose them." How she reached into her jacket and pulled out a small black device. A tactical flare. Not to burn but to blind. Erin's breath caught. She handed it to him. "When I say go, drop this under the seat," and covered Jacob's eyes. "Whatever happens, don't move." He looked at the flare, then her. "You're really not supposed to be doing this, are you?" Her voice dropped. "I'm done waiting for permission." Car B6, the second man, the bald one with the leather jacket, stood near the restroom, speaking low into a phone. He was waiting for confirmation, waiting for a go signal. "Confirm ID," the voice on the line asked. The man paused, then said, "Target is blonde. Kid is about 6, hoodie, train car B5. Proceed quietly. Make it look like a walk-by." He ended the call and reached into his coat. That's when Mara made her move. The door between cars slammed open and Mara stepped in, low, fast, weapon drawn. Federal agent. "Hands where I can see them." Passengers screamed. The man spun around, pulling a Glock from under his coat. To slow. Mara fired first, just one shot. His gun flew from his hand. He dropped to the floor, screaming, gripping his shoulder. Mara advanced. "Get on your knees. Now." The car erupted into chaos, people diving for the floor, cries echoing through the train. In car B5, Erin clutched Jacob tighter, breath ragged. Then another noise. Behind them. Erin turned just as the first man, the one with the hoodie, stepped back into their car through the shadows. And this time, he had a gun. Mara's voice cracked through the earpiece. "Second suspect not secured. Repeat. Second suspect unaccounted." Erin stood, shielding Jacob behind him. The man raised the weapon. "I just want the kid," he growled. "Back away." Erin's knees locked. His hands trembled, but he didn't move. "No." The man tilted his head. "You want to die for him." Erin didn't look at the gun. He looked at his son, then said quietly, "I already would have." The man raised the gun higher. Then dash pop. A sharp snap echoed through the car. The flare. Erin had dropped it. Light exploded under the seats, blinding white in the dark. The man screamed. Erin didn't think. He lunged. They collided, crashing into the row, wrestling. The gun skidded across the floor. The man punched Erin in the ribs hard. Erin choked on air, but he shoved back. And then Mara was there. She tackled the suspect from the side, yanked his arm behind his back, and cuffed him with one swift move. Blood ran from Erin's lip. He leaned back against the seat, wheezing. Mara looked at him. "You okay?" He nodded, breathless. "Remind me to never ignore a stranger in a black shirt again." She gave the faintest smile, then scooped up Jacob and held him close. "You were so brave," she whispered. "Your dad was a lion." The boy clung to her neck. An hour later, the train pulled into the next station. Police and bureau agents swarmed the platform. The suspects were taken into custody. Passengers were debriefed. Everything was blurry and loud and fast. But as Erin stepped off the train with Jacob in his arms, Mara beside them, the noise faded. He looked at her. "You saved us." She shook her head. "You saved him." They stood there a long moment. Then Mara bent down to Jacob's height. "Hey, you want to know something secret?" He nodded. She whispered, "You've got a hero for a dad. Never forget that." Jacob smiled. Then Erin asked the question that had been gnawing at him. "You said you couldn't help your family. What did you mean? Mara's jaw clenched. I had a sister. She said. She got taken when I was still in training. I thought I could find her, but I was too late. Aaron's throat tightened. I'm sorry. I couldn't save her, she said, but I could save yours. He didn't say anything. He just stepped forward and hugged her. She didn't pull away. Not this time. 3 days later, Indianapolis. Aaron stood in the cramped kitchen of his 2-bedroom rental, pouring milk into Jacob's cereal bowl. He hadn't stopped checking the lock on the front door. Every creak made him flinch, and every time Jacob's voice echoed down the hallway, Aaron pictured that man again, the gun, the threat, the unblinking hunger in his eyes. But worse than the memory was the silence. Mara hadn't called. Not a message, not a knock, not even a government tissue check-in. She was gone like smoke. Aaron didn't know why it hurt so much. Maybe because for the first time in years he'd let someone in. Not just to protect him, but to see him. Daddy, Jacob said around a mouthful of cereal. Is the train lady coming back? Aaron's throat tightened. I don't know, buddy. She was cool. Yeah, Aaron said. She really was. Across town, Mara sat on the edge of a beige metal chair in a federal office basement. Her superior, a rigid man named Director Kessler, tossed a file onto the table between them. You went completely off protocol. Unauthorized flare deployment. Unauthorized confrontation. You turned off 3 rail cars. Do you even care what that does to our operational trust? Mara didn't flinch. The suspects are in custody. 3 missing children were recovered because of it. Kessler slammed his hand on the table. That's not the point. Mara leaned forward, voice low. Then what is, sir? Kessler straightened. The point is you disobeyed command. Again, this is not your war, Agent Quinn. It never was. Mara's jaw flexed, but then he opened a new folder. A photo slid out. Aaron and Jacob. Kessler tapped it. Do you know who flagged them this morning? Mara froze. No. Kessler lifted a printed page. Someone ran a trace on Aaron McKinley's name. Not once, 4 times, different locations. One from an unregistered burner. Mara's voice was sharp. You think he's involved? Kessler stared at her. I think someone still wants that kid. The words sliced through her like ice. Later that night, Aaron heard the knock. 3 soft raps. He opened the door and there she was. Mara. Same black pants, different shirt. Eyes tired but focused. He didn't speak. He just stepped aside. She walked in. Jacob ran down the hallway and barreled into her legs. She smiled and bent to hug him. You okay, little man? I drew you something, he said proudly, racing to his room. Aaron closed the door. You came. I had to, she said. There's something you need to know. They sat across from each other. No coffee, no small talk, just reality. There's a chance, Mara said carefully, that Jacob was targeted intentionally. This wasn't just a random grab. Aaron's hands clenched into fists. Why him? We're still tracing it. But someone has eyes on him. Maybe through your ex-wife. Maybe something else. Either way, you're not safe. Aaron was quiet for a long time. Then he said, You ever feel like your whole life is just running from things? Mara's eyes met his, all the time. He stood up, pacing now. I don't have money. I don't have friends. I can't move again. He's finally in a school where he's happy. I can't keep doing this to him. Mara stepped closer. Then don't. He looked at her, confused. You're saying stay and wait. No, she said. I'm saying fight back. On your terms. Aaron scoffed. I'm a mechanic. You're FBI. We're not the same. But Mara's voice hardened. You're exactly the same. You didn't flinch when a gun was pointed at your kid. You stood up. You shielded him. That man could have killed you, but you didn't back down. She paused. I know agents who'd crack under that pressure. Silence fell. Then she whispered, Let me help you. Aaron nodded slowly. But if we do this, I want the whole truth. Mara swallowed hard. And then, for the first time, she told him about her sister Lena. About the night she was kidnapped by a man posing as a school counselor. About the months Mara spent chasing shadows, being told to wait, to follow orders, to be patient. And about the day they found Lena's body. She told him how the system failed, and how, from that moment on, she made a promise: no more waiting. No more permission. No more missed chances. Aaron didn't speak. He just reached over and gently took her hand. Then let's make sure no one else gets missed. Later that night, Mara opened her laptop and accessed a classified server. She began typing. One word, Echo, the code name for a sting operation she'd once buried. But now it was active, because the same network that had taken her sister was coming for Jacob. And this time, they were going to wish they hadn't. 2 weeks later, an abandoned freight yard on the edge of Terre Haute. The wind howled between rusted train cars and shattered windows. Floodlights from nearby warehouses barely touched the shadows. Here, inside a gutted maintenance garage, Mara. Quinn crouched behind a crate, her Glock drawn, an earpiece live. Her heart thudded not from fear, but focus. Across the way, inside a rusted trailer outfitted with temporary servers and cheap surveillance monitors. The Echo Network's field. Broker paced. The man wore the same cheap leather jacket as on the train, his right arm still in a sling. He wasn't expecting a visit tonight, and certainly not from the woman who'd broken his ring wide open. Outside, concealed in an unmarked SUV, Aaron waited wired, anxious, gripping the radio with one hand and Jacob's backpack with the other. His role wasn't tactical, it was personal. His job was simple: record everything to gather proof, faces, voices, locations for the FBI to move once Mara confirmed the live op. He never thought he'd be part of something like this. But then again, he'd never expected his son to be hunted either. And now, with a trembling camera lens and a father's fury inside him, he waited for the signal. Earlier that day, Jacob had clung to Mara's waist at the bureau's safe house. "Are you leaving again?" he asked softly. She knelt, brushing his hair aside. "Not without finishing what we started. Will I see you after?" Mara's voice cracked. "That's the plan, little man." He smiled, then said, "Daddy says you're like a storm, a good kind." That stayed with her, even now, as she stood under flickering light, aiming down the barrel of justice. The trailer's side door creaked open. Mara stepped in. The man turned and froze. "You." She raised the weapon. "Hands up. You have no backup." He hissed. "No badge. No wire. I don't need any of that to bring you down." She replied coldly. He smirked. "Still carrying your sister's ghost on your back?" Mara's jaw clenched. She was better than you'll ever be. Behind her, two more men emerged from the side guns raised. She heard them, felt them, didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward and said one word into her hidden mic. "Now, outside." Aaron hit the button. The drone overhead flared on, recording everything. The feed sent directly to bureau servers. Every face, every threat, every word captured. From the buildings away, tactical agents in black surged forward. The trap had been laid perfectly. Inside, chaos erupted. One man lunged. Mara spun, elbowed his jaw, disarmed him into blinks. She dropped to her knees, fired a warning shot into the floor. "Back down or bleed," she growled. The second man paused. Too late. Glass shattered as federal agents stormed in. In under 60 seconds, it was over. Cuffed, arrested, processed. And the broker? Mara stood over him as he writhed on the floor. "You tried to take a child." He spat at her boot. "You'll never stop us all." She crouched low. "No," she whispered, "but I stopped you, and that's where it begins." 6 months later, an elementary school in Indianapolis. Aaron stood near the fence, watching Jacob race across the playground. The boy had friends now, a routine, a lightness in his laugh that hadn't been there before. Aaron had a steady job at a local garage. He still carried a scar on his ribs from that train fight, but he wore it proudly. Behind him, Mara pulled up. In a black SUV. She wore jeans today, a simple gray hoodie, hair loose. Aaron smiled. "You made it, I promised." Jacob ran to her full speed. She knelt, catching him in her arms. They spun together. "You're early," she said, looking up at Aaron. "I didn't sleep much." Still scared, he shook his head. "No, just grateful." They sat on a bench. Mara looked at the sky. "You know, after everything, I thought it would feel like a win, and it doesn't. It feels like a beginning." Aaron nodded. "For all of us." She turned to him. "You changed me, you know, pretty sure it was the other way around. They sat in silence. Then Jacob ran up again and blurted, "Can she stay for dinner?" Aaron smiled. "You'll have to ask her." Marl looked at him, then the boy, then back. And this time, she said something she hadn't said in years. Like that, the camera pulls back. The school, the fading sun. The woman once haunted by loss, now laughing with a boy, who reminds her that healing isn't impossible. That kindness can survive darkness, that some strangers enter our lives, like storms, but sometimes they stay. As family.